You're listening to the Esoterics Podcast, hosted by Joe Figueres and Fioraliz Franco.
Hello, everyone. We are back for a special episode.
Welcome back to the podcast, everyone.
This is exciting. But first, what's going on with you? How have you been?
I'm good. I'm enjoying. Oh, it's almost the end of spooky season. Does November count as spooky season?
Yes, it really does.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've had a good October, in spite of the eclipses. So.
Yeah. There's a meme out there about where this person is looking all sad because they haven't done crap for spooky season. They haven't done anything. And that's me, because Portland is filled with ghost tours and haunted houses and all of these things and pumpkin patches. And I haven't done anything. I've been busy. So.
Oh, yeah. We had the Halloween party.
How was that?
It was fun. It was really fun. We had our friend's band played. And
shut up at your house?
Yeah.
Dude, I really should have just gone down there.
Yeah. So we'll do it again next year.
I know.
Yeah, everyone dressed up. Like everyone got dressed up. It was fun. And then I had the fog machine going, which added a really nice ambiance to the whole thing. It gave a real spooky vibe. It was fun. I had a lot of fun.
Yay! Did you give out a prize for best costume?
I did. I gave out prizes for, I had like 4 different categories. We had like best overall.
Who won best overall?
Actually, so nobody had. So nobody didn't actually do the thing, but I did give out the prizes. So
okay. But there was no voting.
We didn't end up having like the time between everybody. Like it was too many Jello shots and.
Those will do it every time. The Jello or pudding shots will ruin a good time.
Yeah. But it was funny because our friends who were in the band, one of them dressed up as a greaser, but the other two, the drummer dressed up as Doc from Back to the Future, and then the bassist dressed up as Marty McFly.
Oh my God, how fun.
And then somebody else showed up with a Teen Wolf costume, which I was like, oh, is this like...
That's awesome. How many people did you have?
I think it was probably about 20 people altogether, because it was my friends, our friends, and the girls. The girls had their friends over too. So.
Nice. So it was a good, manageable number.
Yes.
Yeah, because those parties can get out of hand.
Yeah, I'm not into inviting a bunch of people that I don't, especially anybody I don't know, or I have found myself that I have curated a group, both girlfriends, but just overall friends. And so I only invite the people that I want to be around.
Yes. And that's how it should be. That is absolutely how it should be. Okay, so I went to a party last weekend. It was a friend of mine that I used to work with, and she had a fun party at her house with, costumes and snacks. And then afterward, we went to a karaoke bar, so that was really fun. And I don't really like to dress up. I don't like makeup on my face. I don't like wigs. They're hot and itchy. I don't like, weird clothes that are weird. So, I mean, if everybody's doing it, then I will. But for the most part, I avoid it, right? So, but I'm like, all right, well, I can't go to this party without a costume. So, I just took my Rebel deck and I dressed up as the asshole psychic, and I was actually giving card readings and stuff, and people were liking it. So it was a good time.
The asshole psychic, I love it.
Because the Rebel deck is mean.
Yes. I remember we used it when we were in Michigan.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So that was good and people enjoyed that. But so that was a fun night. And then Saturday, you'll be so proud of me. I went to the Soundgarden Alice in Chains tribute band show. And it was good. The first tribute band was System of a Down, I think, but I don't know what band that they were tributing, but it was death metal and I hate death metal. It was awful.
Yeah.
What is this? But I'm like, all right, well, I'm opening myself up to this experience. Yeah, it was awful. The Alice in Chains tribute band was amazing. Really, really good. The other one that I was there for was, the Soundgarden tribute band, and I didn't think they were as good. So they didn't. If I'm going to go listen to a tribute band, I want them to play covers. And covers are goddamn songs that are on the radio that I know that I can sing along to. But the problem with this band was that they played a lot of like the obscure Soundgarden stuff. Right? The stuff that only people that listen to the entire record and memorize it know. So, I'm a huge fan of Soundgarden, but there were a lot of songs where I'm like, I've never, I don't know these songs. So anyway, it was kind of disappointing, but I was really proud of myself. It wasn't weird. I was making eyes with the hottie sound guy who kept coming and standing next to me for no reason at all and smiling. And yeah, he was cute. And so, yeah, it was a good time.
Nice. Fun. I am proud of you.
You are, right? Because I went with no expectations and I'm like, I'm just expecting to have fun. And I did. So it was good. Oh, and I met somebody. I met like this really cool, she was the girlfriend of the guitarist of the Jar of Flies band. And her name, she was lovely. And she invited me to sit with her at the table. And so it was really fun.
Yeah. Fun.
Yeah.
That's way cool. The last time I went to a concert, it was a couple weeks ago with my friend Kelly, and it was 90% men. But then, and she's like recently single and stuff. So she's like, this is probably a good place to meet a guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, this is probably an excellent place to meet a guy, especially like the one that likes the same music you like. That's a great start. But then she's like, yeah, but it's also LA and like people don't talk to each other. That sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same as Portland, and it was people were dressed up for Halloween. So, they typically, guys that were there had, they had their dates with them, right? Couple. And also I noticed that people tended to be really, really drunk. Just lots of really sloppy mosh pitting, but then sloppiness after the mosh pit too. So it wasn't really someplace where I'm like, I want to meet a dude here, but I had no problem flirting, making eye contact and smiling with a sound guy. So
hey, it's a good exercise. Just kind of like, get your feet wet a little bit.
That's right.
No, you still got it in you.
I know. I was like, because I had my false eyelashes on, right? And I was like, when I went to the bathroom, I was like, oh, I am cute. It's just when you just have a good night, you just look good.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was fun.
Do you know that? Did you watch The Office?
Yes.
Okay, remember the part where Andy's at the skating rink and he's asking for Dave Matthews tracks and he's like, no hits, deep tracks only?
No, but I love Andy.
That must have been that in the Soundgarden tribute band's motto is deep tracks only.
Yes, right. It was just their really obscure stuff, and I won't even say it is obscure, but I'll say it's like
just lesser, just lesser popular,
lesser known tracks, off like their early albums and stuff, which I love Soundgarden, but I wanted to hear, like all of the big hits.
Yes.
Which is depressing.
Yeah. Like you can sprinkle in the deep tracks with the hits and that way it balances it out. You know what? I think some of the best concerts that I've gone to have been where an artist who is, famous in their own right, they're not like starting up or anything, but part of the show includes a cover.
Yes.
They make for some of the best some of the best concerts. Like when we saw Incubus, actually the first time they covered Black Hole Sun.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
And then what was another one? The first time I saw Cat Power, almost the entire, but I think she had the covers album that came out afterwards. But the entire concert was all covers.
I love that.
And it was amazing because it was like one of Mike and I's early first like early dates when we had just started dating. And so he wasn't really a big fan of her music. He hadn't listened to her, but it made it super enjoyable for him because he knew every song that she was playing because it was all covers.
Exactly. Now, the Jar of Flies, Alice in Chains tribute band, they played like 5 or 6. And, you know, I think their set was maybe 8 songs, maybe. They weren't super long sets, but they played like 5 or 6 covers, and the whole place was into it. Everybody was singing along. It was just a lot of fun. Super Unknown did play a couple covers. You know, they played Black Hole Sun. They played, you know, I think, there was a couple more I can't remember off the top of my head, but also here's the thing too with this, and if you know me, you know that I am a huge Chris Cornell fan. Like he is, he just, his voice takes me places. So maybe I had a little bit of an expectation, but my question was before, how is this dude going to sing Chris Cornell? Because not everybody can do that.
He had big shoes to fill.
Big shoes to fill. He had a beautiful voice, very soulful, but it wasn't Chris Cornell. But he was a good singer, though. So it didn't really sound like Soundgarden, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say that. It didn't sound like Chris Cornell.
I see. Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard. That's hard to do.
Yeah, but again, you know, the whole thing was really good. I will definitely, you know, be able to go do more of those things solo rather than, you know, being like, you know, it's because like I said, what's the worst going to happen? I'm going to have a couple drinks and have a great time listening to some good music. And that's exactly what happened. So, it was fun.
What I like about it too is that there isn't the expectation of like, you have to talk to someone if you don't want to. Like, yes, it can happen if you wanted to like, just kind of let it develop organically. But also if you do nothing but have a couple of drinks and listen to music and don't talk to anyone, nobody will know. No. And I tell you what, the people watching too.
Yes. I was like, oh my God. I would like to, you know, show you a picture and be like, I'd like you to see, you know, just how drunk and goofy you look. But also the other thing, and as women, we can all sort of relate to this. Dude, as a woman, I could not just sit there and have a drink without some, you know, guy coming up to me, trying to talk to me. So there was a book sitting next to me on this counter, and it was some random book. I don't even know what the book was. It could have been, you know, Beehives of America for all I know, right?
Right.
And it was like at least 3 to 4 feet away from me. Some guy, and I knew because you can sense them, right? They're like, I'm going to go talk to this pretty girl. Some guy starts walking over to me, and he needed an in, and that in was, is that your book? Is that your book? I just looked at him, and I'm not unkind.
No.
But I'm like, I said, no, that's not my book. And then he was so awkward, and he's like, okay. And then he turned and walked away. Well, if it were my book, that's, you know, so, but that was always like, oh God, really? You couldn't come up with something better? Although he wasn't anything that I would, or I shouldn't say that, that's mean. I wouldn't have pursued any further than kind words with him. So
yeah. I feel like we know within a few seconds of meeting a person.
Girl, yes. Stupid Simpsons robot on the back of his coat made me go, Is that judgy? I think that might be judgy.
No, I think there's certain things, right? There's certain red flags, or not even red flags. There's like yellow flags where like it gives you a pause of, I don't know. Your shoes are rather unstylish. I don't know. I feel
it could have been a costume because it's spooky season. I don't think it was though.
No.
Oh yeah, but shoes are a big one, right? Like,
yeah,
you gotta have solid shoes on.
And also, there's like attractive shoes for a man.
Yes,
like right.
Yes.
It's not so much of the like, oh, that's ugly. Of like, there's something really hot about a guy in Doc Marten boots. Like, you know what I mean? Like it gives you like an extra edge. Anyway. So.
It really does. Even if they're like Doc knockoffs, right? There's still, and I believe that this has changed for me. I've talked about this before, how there's just West Coast guys are different. There's just that slight edge to them that you just don't get in the Midwest. And it's about the boots they wear. It's the jeans that they wear. It's all the fucking tattoos that are just sexy as hell. It's the hair. It's how they, it's everything. There's something. I have never been a West Coast guy girl, but damn. Yeah.
Welcome to the West Coast.
Welcome to the West Coast.
All right. Do we have any announcements?
Just redid my entire catalog of readings. So if anybody's interested in catching a reading, go to my website and check it out, explore. Commissions are open. And if you're looking for a custom intuitively designed commission, check it out. If it's a little bit more spendy than you're used to, connect with me and we can talk about a payment plan. That's all I got.
Okay. I just have a really quick announcement. I just want to say to make sure that if you haven't joined yet, that you join the Esoterics Facebook group, because I will be announcing an upcoming event that I will only announce through there and through email. So if you're not on Facebook, which I understand if you're not, shoot me an email. You can either email esotericspodcast@gmail.com or my email is fioralizfranco@gmail.com. And just shoot me an email. Just let me know I want to get on your email list, because I'm going to have something coming up that is only going to be announced through email list and the Facebook group, nowhere else. So
it's exclusive VIP access to you girls.
Yep. All right. So welcome to our 100th episode. Can you believe it?
Yay! Insert clapping applause. Oh my God, we are officially that podcast that is going to start using sound effects because we think they're hilarious.
You asked for it. You ask and you shall receive.
That's right. Did anybody really ask for it? I don't think they did.
You did. You did.
I did. I'm like, we need to do this, right?
Yes.
Today we're celebrating our 100th episode, you guys are. Can you even believe we have done 100 episodes?
Not really. It's crazy.
It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
It's insane. I remember when we were on Zoom and we were like, we should do a podcast.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, because we just spend so much time talking about different things, and we're just like, I think other people will want to listen to this too.
We need other people to listen in on our nonsense.
On our tangents and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and for some reason, y'all like it. I mean, the other day I just got somebody that reached out and they booked a reading with me, and they found me through the podcast, and they're like, people love this podcast, and I'm not shocked by it, but I kind of am too, right? We do it for
reach.
Fun.
Yeah, yes. The reach is actually what really blew me away. Okay, so just to kind of intro this episode, so we're going to be sharing our personal top 10 favorite episodes and the top 10 listener faves.
Yep.
And I'm also going to create just on our Instagram, I'll have on the highlights, I'll have the 10 listener favorites and our 10 personal favorites pinned on our highlights if you want to just, click through and look at all those and all that. And then they'll also be in the show notes if you want to.
Yeah, and maybe give them a listen. Give them another listen, a re-listen if you are a diehard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do we have listeners? We have listeners all over the world. Where are they from?
Okay, so there's like too many countries to name, but we have listeners from Canada, Mexico, Nicaragua, Brazil, the UK, Germany, Pakistan, India, Japan, Australia, Thailand, South Korea, China, Sweden, Finland, Russia. Like so many.
Ghana, Italy, Hungary, the Czech Republic, Poland, France, Spain, Ireland. Like, you guys, are you kidding me?
Thank you.
What? Who are these people? I want to know. Please, if you're listening and you hear us, please send us an email and tell us where you're from, because we would love to hear from you and how you found us, and that would be fun.
Yes. And I think we should start doing like more listener questions. So shoot us your emails of,
we say this occasionally, but what topics would you like to hear? I mean, we've done 100 topics of things that we like to talk about. Sometimes these topics are intuitively guided, right? Like, we don't know what we're going to talk about until like a couple days before we start writing it, but it'd be cool to hear what you guys all want to hear about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now that we mentioned that,
Mhm.
so let's go through just very quickly. We'll just go through the list of fan favorites, of listener favorites. So this is number 1 is the Akashic Records Part 1 of 2, which of course it is, because that's such a good topic and people need to know.
People love to know about the Akashic Records, but I also think that it's about past lives. People, that is the number one thing that people ask me about in my readings.
Mm.
Can we get, do I have any past lives? Can we get in there?
Yep.
Okay, but number 2 is ancestral veneration, honoring your ancestors.
Yes. Yeah, and that one, it's a guide. So I even referenced it when I did the ancestor class last week.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, and people, again, it's about working with your ancestors, working with quote unquote past energies and stuff like that. So it's a big thing. Yeah.
And then we have the other side, life between death and rebirth.
Yep. Life between life. After that, communicating with animals.
Yes.
And we had a guest on that episode to talk about animal communication.
Yeah, that was our guest, Alyssa. She was the animal communicator. And then the next one was Mary Sabina, which I loved doing that story. I loved doing the research for that one. That one's actually part of our personal favorites too.
Yeah, that one was one of my favorites. The whole time I was like, when she is teaching us something, when she's teaching me something, and I am absorbed in the story, that's one of my favorites. It doesn't even really matter what the story is, but the story of Maria Sabina is really cool.
And then we have The Dark Night of the Soul.
Yep. That was a good one. People love that one too, because everybody's probably had one or can relate.
Yeah. So I've been on the Reddit subgroups. There's a spiritual awakening subgroup, and I've been posting that episode in there because people need guidance, and that one just helps at least just to understand what the hell's going on.
That's so smart. That's so smart. I when I look at Reddit, I'm a boomer. I'm scared. What is this? I'm scared. I'm getting out of here.
What is this?
The Life Between Life series, that was a popular episode. The one that focused on how people choose their next life, choosing their parents, choosing their body, their where they're going to live, that sort of thing. That was a cool one. People love that type of thing too. They always want to ask that, like, how did I choose this person? Why did I choose this particular person?
Yeah, which makes sense. Next one up is numerology, the natural gifts of your birthday number.
Oh, I didn't know that was a top one. That's a fun one. That was a fun one to do.
Well, just because you're so good at numerology. So I feel like that one was fun.
Thank you. The State of Dreaming. People love that episode. They even reference it in the group a lot.
Yes. Yeah. And I love doing that one because dreams for me have always been super just prophetic, and they're very important for me in my life. So I love doing that episode.
And people are always posting in the community. I had this dream last night, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's good to reference them back to. Check out that the podcast episode on the State of Dreaming.
And finally, we have all about twin flames.
Ugh. I mean, you all know how I feel about twin flames. They're romanticized, but that was a fun episode.
It was. I like that we got to like straighten out some facts around that stuff. Because I belong to some groups where I still see people who are, my twin flame is abusive and he's a narcissist and da-da-da-da. And it's like, that's not your twin flame. Like, quit adding that label to everything. It's right up there with twin flames and the word narcissist and toxic.
It's true. It's you can have a twin flame that is toxic and narcissistic and all of those things, but twin flame relationships are very rare just because of the nature of them. Listen to the episode. Give it a re-listen if you haven't, because there are very specific criteria for being a twin flame. The whole topic,
Listen, these are listener favorites.
I know. It doesn't matter if I get annoyed, like, you're not a twin flame.
Why does it matter? Like, does putting a label, as a millennial who doesn't really like labels,
you really don't. No.
I don't think it's necessary. That's my point. All right. So now let's talk about our personal top 10 favorite episodes.
Yes, these are our episodes. These are the ones that we chose, that we most enjoyed putting the stories together for you, doing the research, and really just presenting them and talking about them. All right, so we're starting with number 10. We're doing a countdown, yes?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so starting off our top 10 favorite episodes with number 10, which is episode number 3, Bitch, Don't Go In There, Vortex Energies, and the Paranormal. Right. So it's messing with the electromagnetic field. It's impacting the workings of this wheelchair. A pregnant woman. She actually refused to go anywhere near the vortex. And when, the guide was like, why? She's like, listen, this is going to sound crazy, but it's like my baby, it does not want me to go in there because it's kicking me.
Yeah.
Now, never being pregnant, I don't know what it feels like, but I can't imagine a little human inside of you would be pleasant.
No, it doesn't. It's not that it feels bad, but if your baby were to just start kicking because usually you don't feel a baby kick until you're sitting down, until you're not moving. If you're walking around and your baby's just going nuts, that's a huge sign.
Yeah, because the baby's like, bitch, don't go in there. Don't take us in there.
No. So we love that one because of the title, and obviously that's where the title comes from for that one.
Yes, it was good. It was fun. It was a fun episode to research, and this was when we were still sharing episode topics.
Yeah, so when we first started this podcast, it's still a collaboration, but every episode was a collaboration. And then what would you say I think it was maybe about a year in that we decided no, this is too much.
There was just a lot of comparing and making sure that there was no overlap and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was just so much easier to say, you bring your topic to the table and I will get to listen and learn and vice versa. And that's worked out really well for us. But occasionally we will collaborate on an episode or two still.
Yeah, because sometimes we get into one topic that we both love equally, that we're like, okay, yeah, let's do this one.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And we bring different perspectives to it too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. Okay. What's the next one on our list?
Number 9 is episode number 54, The Curious Tale of Om Seti.
And because she was her parents' only child, her mother was just distraught. Aww. And so then, they're trying to tend to the mother. And then the doctor says, I'll be back in an hour to get her ready, to get the body ready, start washing her and getting ready for burial. So the doctor comes back in an hour and they find her in her room, just playing, alive and playing, and no injuries. So
this was a cool reincarnation story.
Yes, I love reincarnation stories. Mm-hmm. I love this topic, and this particular story was just so interesting. So yes, this is still one of my favorites. It's one of my party tricks too, just to randomly tell this story to friends when we're out.
And blow their mind.
If you go out with me, these are the topics that I like to talk about, okay? We can talk about ghosts, we can talk about spooky things, we can talk about reincarnation. These are the topics that I will hold a conversation with you about.
Excellent. What's next?
All right, next on the list is number 28, Death Doulas and Earthbound Spirits and Ghosts.
So I learned about it. So because it started popping up so much, I needed to have some information on it to share with my clients if it came up. So basically, using your natural abilities to help and communicate with those in spirit is super profound. Oh my God, you guys, it's wonderful. And so what's happening is that many psychic mediums are being called to learn more about the process of passing over by becoming this certified, end-of-life coach or end-of-life guide or death midwife. So a death doula is a non-medical person, and that's important, non-medical, who has specific training to help people care for someone at the end of their life. Terminal patients, I always think of terminally ill patients. And they assist in the dying process, much like a midwife or a doula does with the birthing process. And it's not just the crossing over. It's actually, there's a lot out there. They're whole programs. It's visits with a death doula are generally done in the home. Yeah, and this is super interesting, this episode, because there's so much mediumship involved in it and the death process. So that one was a really interesting topic.
I feel like that one was one that you just don't hear a lot about. Like,
No.
that was the first time I'd heard about that. And yeah, I'm glad we covered that one.
Yeah. I get a lot of mediums in my readings that are interested in doing end of life transitional work.
All right, what's next on the list?
Next on the list is number 7, which is episode 47, but also episode number 52. So this is a 2-parter, and this one is Mary Magdalene, parts 1 and 2, where we cover the lost scriptures of her.
Make it bad by deeming it so.
Yeah, but also you have to think of it as how other people have perceived themselves in the act of committing things that were crimes against humanity, but they were looking at themselves as savior or as ridding the world of sin and evil to make it pure again. Like that's
right.
That's
crazies.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
It's a very fine line.
Yeah. I love that episode because just getting into the scriptures of Mary Magdalene, or just the message that she had for the world, it was such a progressive message if you really think about it. And it's one of those things that's like, well, why was it buried? Well, I mean, it's kind of obvious because it didn't fit the patriarchy, but yeah, I loved that episode too.
Plus, I liked diving into like who she was, because she was, not a sex worker. She was a priestess. She was an apostle. She was a badass, and she's just been portrayed throughout history as a whore. You know what I mean?
They tarnished her name. It was a way to tarnish her name. That was all it was. Yeah.
Yeah. It takes a lot away from who she is, who she was, and, her contribution to modern women empowerment and stuff. So she was a badass. Next, we have number 6, which is episode number 50, The Oracles of Delphi, Women with the Final Word. And this episode where we talk about the oracles as high priestesses.
They were considered to be second-class citizens, unable to participate in politics, own land, or inherit property. Right? Like now, except kind of not sort of, right?
Typical patriarchy bullshit.
Patriarchy bullshit.
Yes. Here we go. It really was. It was patriarchal nonsense. And listen to this. Give this one a listen, because there's lots of really cool Greek mythology in there too.
Yeah. Any chance we get to shit on the patriarchy, we're going to take it, guys. Sorry. Not sorry.
No, not sorry. Well, and the thing is the oracles at Delphi, those high priestesses, they ruled for more than 1,000 years, and they had the power to render all of the men of Greece silent and really just change the course of history with their words, with their oracles. Their words were the center of economic, religious, and political power. The oracles of Delphi were badass. And I believe that one of the reasons that the patriarchy was like, okay, these women, they gotta go, or we need to take this power. I don't know, I wasn't well, I think I was alive during that time. I have said it before, I think I was an oracle because I've just been obsessed with them since I was a little girl, but we don't know.
And that's usually a sign.
Yep. Number 5 is episode number 58, Pachita, the story of Barbara Guerrero.
And she went over, they don't say exactly how, but she went over and healed him.
Yeah.
And that's when she knew what she was able to do. And that's what solidified her own belief in herself and her abilities. And that's how she kept going. She would slip, as a little girl, she would slip into trances and claim that her body was being taken over by an entity that she called El Hermanito, which means the little brother. And so this is where I was telling you last week, what you were talking about was perfectly feeding into this story.
Channeling.
Because this is essentially what she was doing. She would later identify the little brother as Cuauhtemoc, and Cuauhtemoc was actually the last emperor of the Aztecs. He was the nephew of Moctezuma.
Oh.
Okay, there's so much to that episode, and that technically, I mean, the subject of Pachita is linked to the story that I did on Dr. Jacobo Zilberbaum, Grimberg Zilberbaum. And and I love that story. I had some audio problems though with his story, so I think I would like to redo it eventually.
Yeah, those two are connected. And Pachita was a psychic surgeon. So that's really the basis of this podcast and how she performed psychic surgery. Very, very, very cool. I remember when I listened to this one, I was always like, oh, what? And also I was like, there's no way in hell I'd let anybody psychically surgery me. But she did it though. She's probably the only person I would let touch me.
Yeah. It's nuts.
Number 4 on the list is episode number 70, Elsie Wheeler and the Sabian symbols. And the Sabian symbols are related to astrology. Not a great deal is known about her life, but the legacy that she left behind lives on through those Sabian symbols. So Elsie was severely afflicted with rheumatoid arthritis, and she spent her entire life in a wheelchair.
Wow.
She couldn't really turn her head, and she could barely hold her hands. Elsie never married or had kids. She was married to sort of this higher spiritual purpose, is what everybody else likes to say. But don't let that stop you, because as we'll find out, Elsie had a little something going on with somebody. She did. It's a good story.
Yeah, catch that one.
You're going to want to get into that. There's implied sexual stuff in there.
Get the tea. Get the whole tea.
All right, number 3 on the list is episode number 89, Gen Woke and the spiritual role of each generation. They've come back to hold the higher vibrational frequency in place, which helps humans take back their power.
Okay.
That's the Starseed. But Indigo, Crystal, and Rainbow children, our awakening is simply a remembering of our soul's plan.
Yeah.
And we're born during a very specific generation in order to live out a very specific purpose.
Mm-hmm. I love generations. I like talking about that. And then did we mention in that episode how technically the generations are defined by Pluto? Like Pluto defines.
We did not talk about that. Not that I remember.
Oh, okay. So then I think we have to revisit that, because that's how the generations are marked. Is when Pluto changes placements, that marks the end and the start of a new generation.
Which makes sense, because Pluto is about power and coming into power, and
but also groupthink, right?
Yes,
because it is such a distant planet. It doesn't affect us so much on our day to day. It affects us more as like a large overall collective community, society, world. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, we didn't look at the astrology aspect of that. So,
okay. So I think there's another episode coming.
Listen, I love that episode, and I refer people and recommend that episode all the time in my readings, especially to millennials, because one of the things that we talk about in there is how, millennials are sort of the buffer between Gen X, which are the disaffected youth, and then Gen Y, right? Because millennials are actually having Gen Ys, right? Well, Gen Ys are having babies that are Gen Zs. Is that who they are? And these Gen Z babies, y'all. These Gen Z babies are going to change the world, and they're the most diverse population, and they're just not going to put up with a lot of the nonsense that this, like the MAGA crowd is like, borders this and, they're not going to put up with that. So they're going to change the world, and I'm so excited.
Yeah. So, I think we're going to work on that astrological perspective of generations.
Yep.
That's a good one. All right. What's next on the list?
Number 2 on the list is episode number 10, Starseeds and Star Children. And everyone on Earth has arrived at some point from somewhere else, right? But the difference is that Earth souls, which we will cover later, Earth souls have incarnated here hundreds of lifetimes again and again and again to balance karma, to learn new lessons, and increase the amount of light inside themselves in human form. Those are Earth souls. The majority of people, though, are Starseeds. They're actually coming here from other origins.
So this is one of our early episodes. Like this is only 10 on our rotation. We got into deep stuff really early on.
We really did. And also, what's interesting is I'm thinking back and I'm listening and I thought, we will have changed our style, but we haven't really. We sound the same,
It's the same.
Yeah. Starseeds and Star Children, again, it's another one. People just love this. They love to learn about it. They want to know about it in the Akashic Records. They like to know what their planet of origin is. I think all of the younger generations, starting with, all generations really, silent generation, boomer, Gen X on down. But the majority of the people incarnating now are they're Starseeds because they're here to raise the vibrational frequency of the earth and elevate evolution. So it's a good episode.
Yes. All right. What's our number one?
Finally, number one on the list is episode number 23. Maria. It's the story of Maria Sabina. What's the title of this episode, actually? Let me see. What's it say?
Maria Sabina, Curandera, and Priestess of Mushrooms.
Excellent.
And in first experiences, she and her sister were so hungry, and she knew of these mushrooms and that they were safe to eat because she had seen an uncle, one of her uncles who was really, really sick, who had been cured by a shaman with the mushrooms. Like the shaman, she saw the thing happen. So she knew she could eat them. So they ate them. She was like 8 years old.
This is...
Yeah, she was
quote unquote safe to eat.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And so she said in her first experience that she heard the voice of God. And then they continued to eat them. She and her sister would continue to eat them. And sometimes her grandfather would find them out in the field, just like laughing or crying. And then they would just carry them home, but they wouldn't punish them for it, which I thought was interesting because I feel like if we did that, like if I found my 8-year-old kid over there high on mushrooms, I might freak out a little bit.
Right.
but it was just because that's you don't do that. Their belief was you don't punish a person, you don't punish a child under the influence of the mushrooms because you can make them go crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right. I like that story. That's a good one. That was such a good, it was like reading a book. It was like listening to an audiobook, like as the story unfurled when you were telling it. So I remember being very like enthralled with the whole thing.
I loved doing this episode because I loved being able to tell her story. And a lot of the research that went into the creation of this episode was because I didn't have the resource because I couldn't find just like her straight up story. I just wanted somebody to tell me her life story and I couldn't find it. So I had all the bits and pieces. I read her book and then I made this episode. So basically it was to fit a need and I did love making it. I also just liked the straightening out of certain things that people love to bring up about like how allegedly she didn't charge for her services or whatever. And it's like, well, no, she did. So
she did. And it was also really interesting to hear how her village supported her. And then, once they were tired of all of the people coming to visit her, then they sort of turned on her. And that was really sad because, she was an amazing, amazing human. And what she did, she was always of the mindset of, I will heal you. I will heal you. She was a healer. So
yeah,
very, very cool. Very cool human, Maria Sabina.
Yeah. And that is it for our list of our top 10 favorite episodes. We hope that you will give them a listen if you haven't done so already. If you have, maybe give them a re-listen. Is there an episode on our list that you would like us to redo or add more to? Because like so far that the Gen Woke, was it Gen Woke that we said we're going to do the astrology on? And I felt actually re-inspired by listening back to some of these again.
Yeah, I think it's important to revisit some of these, and it would be a fun episode to, pick one maybe take some questions from our community, our podcast community on Facebook, or through email, or even, from if anybody wants to drop one in our comments on Instagram, it would be really cool to take some questions and address those too. So
yes, absolutely.
All right, well, friends, that means it's time to say goodbye. Thank you for joining us for our 100th episode. It's a big milestone. We're really proud of it, and we're honored to have been able to bring you that many, discussions and conversations. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it on your stories, subscribe, leave us a review. This really helps our podcast grow. And if we grow, that means we have the ability to give you another 100 episodes.
Yeah. Thank you all for hanging out with us today. Stay mystical, magical, and don't let anyone tell you what to do.
Or what podcasts not to listen to.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.